Montreal, the everyday and the extraordinary. The Elias Macco Show on CJAD 800.
Just want to return for a moment to the question of that auction that Andrew was mentioning during his show this morning. Two places in a foursome with former Hab Chris Nyland and former Nordic Wally Weir at the Starlight Children's Foundation Golf Tournament. That's coming up August 24th at Beaconsfield Golf Course. And the bidding was a little fast and furious this morning, and it continued after Andrew's show ended over at TSN 690. And I just checked with the guys at TSN 690. The winning bid as of when the auction closed at 10 o'clock, $1,600. And it was made by someone who wants to remain anonymous because it's going to be a gift for someone. Isn't that nice? Someone's going to get a gift for them and a buddy to play with Chris Nyland and Wally Weir. All right. Good on you for your generosity with that $1,600 bid. Already have a text in on this question about tourism in Montreal. Mark from NDG says, I work downtown 4 days a week and I don't think I've ever seen this many tourists all over the place, nor as many pedestrians and shoppers on St. Catherine Street West. No question the downtown core appears to have finally returned to its pre-COVID vibrancy, and it's really nice to see. Here to tell us just how well Montreal tourism is going this season, we welcome the President and CEO of Tourism Montreal, Yves Lalumière. Good morning, Yves.
Good morning, Trudy, and thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Run the numbers for us. How well is Montreal doing so far in the busy tourism season?
Well, your friend downtown is right. This is going to be a record-breaking summer for us. So the demand has really increased by 3 times, what we have, historically. So we're looking at 12% increase in demand, since the month of May, June, and July. And honestly, we're not expecting so much great numbers based on the Grand Prix. So Grand Prix being placed in May increased our revenue by 43%. And then in June, we expected a decrease, and that did not happen. We got an increase as well of 5%. And then July is just spectacular, with 86% of our room nights being full in Montreal on the island. So great results so far, and good forecast ahead as well. So your friend is absolutely right. Downtown is very vibrant, and the same thing for many of the districts.
Why do you think you didn't see that drop off in July?
Well, I think what happened, Trudy, is that the Grand Prix took so much space, in terms of rates. The rates were high, and then you had the Franco and you had the Jazz Festival, and the price of hotels were, a bit too much for a lot of the folks that like festivals. So that gave some fresh air to the month of June, and we also had some, conferences and meetings as well. So we ended up with an increase which did not expect. We did not forecast that. And then July, we had a whole lot of conferences. We had 35,000 delegates, which is 2 times more than what we have usually that we had last year. So a lot of business travel, a lot of leisure travel as well, all combined. And when you put the sports, the festival into this, all of the factors were on green lights.
In terms of spending, what are the restaurants and the souvenir stores and the other shops telling you? Are people coming here for the vacation but being more frugal in the past, or are they free spending?
Well, I don't think it's free spending. So this is a mixed bag to honestly, when we look at the attractions, the weather has not been spectacular in May and June. So the attractions did not have the same increase as we did in terms of the traveler. However, in terms of the restaurant scene, it's going very well. And that we have, Montreal is, elected about 30% of the top 100 restaurants in Canada. The Michelin as well. So people do come in Montreal. Visitors come in Montreal for the food scene. So very good increase there. And the retail stores, they do well. Lots of tourists, they do buy. The Americans are the one that spends more by night stay, and then followed by Ontario. And then at the end, we have the French European that spend a little less than those markets.
Concerning that kind of unexpected bump in business traffic in July with all the conferences in town, do business travelers tend to be a little bit more liberal with their spending than tourists, or do they tend to just maybe eat at some restaurants and then go home?
No, they do. You're right. They do spend 40% more than a leisure traveler, and obviously they go in a 4.5 and 5 stars hotel. So luxury market is doing well, but it's been continuous growth. And when you're looking at compared to 2019 and now, we now actually have 1 million visitors per year more in Montreal than 2019. So you even compare before the COVID. So there's a real appetite for our city. Sometimes Montrealers, and this, we're a bit down on ourselves. We tend to criticize, but travelers love us, and 92%, according to our survey, are satisfied with their visits, and 70% of them are very satisfied. So, good appetite for the city.
What do you expect now for August, September, October? How late do you really calculate as Montreal's prime tourism season? Because we get great colors here. The mountain is beautiful in October. Beautiful colors, yeah.
Again, you're right. We say our summer finishes in October, and then sometime mid-November as well, because the weather is actually better in August and September. So Europeans, they come more in August, September, and October, and Americans, August and September are their favorite months. So for us, that's why we say we're the mid-year at this point. We expect August to be at 85% occupancy in the hotel, which is very strong. So it's an increase of 3 to 5%. In September, we have the World Cycling Championship, which is supposed to attract about 400,000 spectators, fans. And so again, we're bound to have a very good finish. So it's going to be a record-breaking summer and a record year as well for tourism. And sometimes we undervalue the impact of tourism industry in the city. But if you're a retailer downtown, you want that to happen.
Any vulnerabilities you see for Montreal at this point? Is every sector of the tourism industry strong, or is there room for improvement in one or two?
Yeah, the room for improvement. The challenge we have, and I think there's been some good announcement, is we're a city of great experiences, right? Great events. And obviously the Olympic Stadium news about modernizing the inside is going to bring us additional concerts, which we didn't have in the past. So that's coming up soon. Same thing with the convention center, which is supposed to be densified, meaning 40% more space. It's going to help us getting more conferences and meetings because Montreal is very popular. So then the airport, the REM as well. So it's all about modernizing our infrastructure. Same thing with the tennis stadium as well. Same thing that happened with the Grand Prix. We had to modernize our infrastructure. So we're, the good announcements now is going to help us, through the 2030 and beyond. So these are the challenges we have, but there's a good announcement that has been made as well.
All right. Yves Lalumière, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Trudy, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yves Lalumière, President and CEO of Tourism Montreal. When
you've heard the chaos, now you can see it. Oh my God. Watch all your favorite podcasts from start to finish right inside the free iHeartRadio app.
Gets the blood going, huh?
Catch every laugh and eye roll on shows like the Tom Green Farmcast and Park the Bus, now with full video.
We're building a ramp for Tony Hawk.
It's the same hosts and the same chemistry with all the hilarious moments you've been missing right on your screen.
Cheers.
Open the free iHeartRadio app, search video podcasts, and tap watch. Time is valuable. Thanks for spending your morning with us. The Elias Macco Show on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
You may remember late last year, Environment Canada rolled out that new color-coded alert system for bad weather, yellow, orange, and red. And we've been using that here at CJAD, of course, since then. Here to tell us more about avoiding alert fatigue and a new tweak to the alert system is Giselle Dookhie, warning preparedness meteorologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada. Giselle, hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Is this an addition to the Environment Canada color-coded alert system, or is this a change, like a complete change?
As this is part of a complementary to the system itself, or the way we've been issuing our warnings based on the legacy system for the zones for severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings, it's off of the same system. It's just now we're making them more targeted.
All right. Explain to us how you will make them more targeted.
Yeah, exactly. So with zones, often the severe weather threat itself is much smaller than the zones themselves. So people would see blue skies in some areas, but they weren't expected to be directly impacted by that severe weather. Now the targeted system for severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings will allow the MSC forecaster to draw a shape, essentially a polygon, that encompasses the severe weather threat itself and the areas that are likely to be impacted by it.
And will that be available only to people following the weather maps online? Will that information go out to broadcasters? How is that going to be disseminated?
It'll be disseminated just like how we disseminate our other warnings. You'll be able to see the polygon shapes themselves on canada.ca/weather. In the WeatherCan app, you'll have all the latest information under the location pages. And when storms do hit our alert ready category for tornado warning or severe storms, we'll push them out like we do for broadcast immediate and also wireless immediate notifications. But there's going to be huge improvements with the wireless immediate notifications.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to hear, too. Tell us more about that.
The reason why is because the footprint of these polygons are much smaller than the previous warnings that we sent out. So now when the warnings overlay with the cell phone towers, it's going to be covering a much smaller footprint, so less devices are going to be overwarned for that warning. It's going to be really the areas that are expected to be impacted by it will be warned for that.
And this is to avoid that alert fatigue that is the concern in the addition to the weather alert system when people stop paying attention, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
One of our texters says, well, when did 5 millimeters of rain or 5 centimeters of snow turn into a major weather event? Are we getting too knee-jerky about bad weather in Canada because we've had so many bad storms? Now we're all on high alert all the time. Do you think, Giselle?
I think it depends on where it falls and also the timing. Because 5 centimeters falling up north might not mean anything, but 5 centimeters during rush hour, depending on where it is, it could be quite intense and reduce the visibility. So, yes, I agree. Sensitivity to warnings definitely creates an alert fatigue when it doesn't happen in your area.
By the way, folks, if you have to do what I just did and Google polygon to figure out what shape is being referred to, it's basically any of your multi-sided shapes like your triangle, your square, your pentagon, your hexagon, your heptagon. Do I understand that correctly, Giselle? When you're using polygon, that's what you mean?
Exactly. And the system allows us to be more flexible with it, because now we can merge our warnings into a larger polygon area for a line of thunderstorms. If along that line itself there are areas that have more severe threat, we will be able to split them into multiple polygons, multiple warnings, and upgrade part of it. So it's going to take definitely some learning, because warnings can now coexist. They can also be overlaid with one another. But there are definitely benefits there, because previously a severe thunderstorm warning, when it upgrades to tornado warning, the entire warning itself would upgrade. But now we can just simplify and just highlight the area that will have the greatest threat. So you can see the tornado warning embedded in the severe thunderstorm warning. It
does seem to me, I live on the West Island of Montreal, and we're often missed by the severe weather that comes in. The most recent storm seemed to have swept down the center part of the island as opposed to over the West Island. And we're covered by the warning, but we didn't see that type of severe weather. So I can see why accuracy is going to help a lot, more accurate within regions. Does it strike you that that people are showing more technological interest in weather and weather forecasting these days? It seems there's all kinds of online weather groups, amateur weather watchers, and so on.
I think it's great exposure, because it all shows that we're very keen on learning more about the weather, and we're all there trying to communicate as best as we can to the public about the hazards. Environment and Climate Change Canada remains the official for sending out weather alerts, but there are a lot of different third-party platforms that help Canadians get the essential information they need for the day-to-day.
has the switch to the color-coded system that's going to be functioning alongside the polygons on the maps and determining where the alerts get sent, has it been considered a success, simplifying and going to yellow alert, orange alert, red alert?
So far, the system itself, it's less than a year old, so we're still going through all the seasons. It's definitely a learning process. Something that we work closely with health organizations, emergency managers, and different partners, and we work with them side by side to upgrade those warnings accordingly. And so far, I think it's been successful, but we still have a year to go through to just see how everything unfolds.
What do you say? It's a learning experience with any new system. What have been the lessons learned so far from the switch?
Well, the switch, it's not only hitting the weather criteria for the event, it's also the impact on the public. And impacts can grow over time. It can be an accumulation of impacts. So it can be multiple storms back to back. But an individual storm itself might have a lower impact. But if there's a power outage over a region, and now we have another storm moving in, and it's really hot, those accumulation impacts can create a bigger hazard than previously intended.
So where is all of this going? The addition of the polygons that focus more tightly on only the worst parts of a storm or the most dangerous parts of any type of storm system. How are you going to be evaluating accuracy? How will you be determining if this is working?
There's always internal verifications on our side, just double checking it, and it's real-time updates. So as the storm is unfolding, the forecaster is analyzing the latest information that's available to them and issuing updates on that warning accordingly.
I just wonder, my husband has become addicted to listening to real-time forecasters who live stream as these storm systems are moving. And they seem to be very factual. A lot of them do have meteorological degrees or training. And so they seem to be doing a good factual job. But it's just the whole, the sense that you're watching it unfold, almost like weather has become a spectator sport to some degree. I'm just wondering if any of your colleagues would be into doing that, doing live weather commentary, especially for the really dangerous storms where minutes could count in terms of sending out alerts or creating those polygons.
As for that, the specifics of that, I don't know myself, but you're always welcome to call in and you can speak with the meteorologist to get the information. But yes, we are passionate about the weather. There's some of us that do go out and track these storms closely, but as part of the official program with Environment Climate Change Canada, it's not something that is offered.
Oh, well, not yet anyway, not yet. You could probably, charge advertising. I think you'd have so many listeners you could charge advertising for that. People are just so into, or maybe it's just my husband who's so into it, but it does seem to be a thing that people are paying more attention to these days. Giselle, thank you very much for your time and for the interview.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. Giselle Dookhie, warning preparedness meteorologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada. After the 10:30 update, as reported by Tom Whalen, we will check in with the one of the top doctors at the Montreal Children's Hospital about e-scooters. She was a signatory to a long list of suggestions to the province to regulate these things, to make sure that kids under the age of 16 don't ride them, and those who do ride them over the age of 16 wear the appropriate headgear, saying ordinary bike helmets not good enough for e-scooters. That's coming up.
You've heard the chaos. Now you can see it. Hello. Oh my gosh. Watch all your favorite podcasts from start to finish right inside the free iHeartRadio app. Gets the blood going, huh? Catch every laugh and eye roll on shows like the Tom Green Farmcast and Park the Bus. Now with full video. We're building a ramp for Tony Hawk. It's the same hosts and the same chemistry with all the hilarious moments you've been missing right on your screen. Cheers. Open the free iHeartRadio app, search video podcasts, and tap watch.
Quote. La STN vous souhaite la bienvenue à bord.
You can carpool with him. Elias Mackos is in transit on CJAD 800.
Well, if you've been out and about at all this summer, you have seen kids on these gizmos. It can be quite frightening when you see them and how fast they go on Montreal streets. We're talking about electric scooters. A lot of people like them because they're fun to ride. They're convenient if you're just getting around in your neighborhood. However, young kids are not supposed to be on them. And what we're hearing from trauma specialists is that they are a significant source of injury. A new opinion piece published in La Presse last week had some doctors describing an alarming increase in emergency room visits linked to electric scooter crashes. We're talking head injuries, broken bones, facial trauma, and more. Here to tell us more about the letter that she co-signed is Dr. Laurie Plotnick, full-time pediatric emergency physician and the emergency department trauma medical head at the Montreal Children's Hospital. Dr. Plotnick, good morning.
Good morning.
Do you have any numbers for us, doctor, on scooter injuries coming into the children's?
Yes, I mean we're quite alarmed at the increase in injuries. We have about 10 times the number of injuries that we saw that we're seeing now. We're not even finished the season compared to 2023. We are seeing more than half of the injured children and teens are under the age of 14, which is below the legal age to ride an e-scooter in Quebec, and up to 65% of the children we're seeing are arriving with complex traumas that require ongoing care, whether it's through ongoing rehabilitation, trauma specialists, hospitalizations, ICU stays, surgeries. It's quite alarming.
When you talk about complex traumas, can you give us an example of a typical scooter injury patient?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing children, like I said, younger than 14, older than 14, with severe facial injuries and fractures requiring surgery, limb fractures, severe brain injuries. And these are children who are not just walking in and walking out of our emergency department. They are really severely injured.
In the opinion piece, you issue a number of recommendations to government, and chief among them is that there's no stalling on bringing in some new and tougher rules governing who can drive these things and under what conditions. What are you asking for?
We're asking for the policies to change and the laws to change so that the minimum age is 16, similar to an e-bike. This is a motorized vehicle that requires training. It should require the user to have a permit, just like we do for e-bikes and other important motorized vehicles. We want a strengthening of enforcement of helmet use and actually guidelines related to helmet use. We are suggesting that a full-faced helmet like is used in motocross be what is recommended and required. We want enforcements on speed. Certainly, although the speed limit is 25 kilometers per hour in Quebec for e-scooters, it's not being enforced, and certainly these e-scooters actually can go faster than that. There's a need for public and parent education. Many of the families did not realize the laws related to e-scooters when they're purchasing these vehicles for their children. And certainly there's a retailer accountability. There are scooters available for purchase in Quebec with an age that says 8 and up, for example, and this is clearly not in line with the legal limits in Quebec. We also want those who are creating the policies to consult us. We have the numbers, we're seeing the injuries, and we would like a seat at the table to provide guidance.
How young are the kids you're seeing coming into the children's with e-scooter injuries?
I don't have the numbers on the lowest age that we've seen, but we have certainly seen, as I mentioned, over half of the children are under 14.
And let's go into more depth about the helmet recommendation, because I think that might come as a surprise to parents that you're recommending full face coverage. Is that because the kids are coming in with, smashed teeth or jaws, or what are you seeing?
Yeah, we are seeing really severe facial injuries, broken bones, certainly concussions, even from injuries to the head, the front of the head. We're the children are really being injured from the face as well. And bike helmets are not the appropriate helmet for this kind of high-speed vehicle.
Yeah, I have never seen a kid with full face coverage on one of these things. You're lucky if they have a helmet on and all. And right. that goes for all the ages that we see in our neck of the woods anyways on the West Island. Given their popularity, I'm assuming that you and the other doctors that put together these recommendations are worried that as they become more popular, there'll be more of them around and young kids will be tempted increasingly to start using them, thinking their parents might think, oh, it's just a suburban street. It's not, it isn't the service road of the T-Can. They should be safe. Are you seeing any difference in the location where these injuries are coming from?
Children are being injured everywhere. It's not just on busy traffic, busy and trafficked areas. The message we also want to get out is that these e-scooters are not toys. They're motorized vehicles, and we have to treat them that way. People who are riding them need the skill, the maturity, the judgment to operate these fast-moving motorized vehicles, but they are being targeted to children and families as if they're toys. And we are really trying to get the message out there that they are not toys. They require training, they require judgment and maturity, and we also are asking that the laws be enforced, which clearly they're not enforced if we're seeing a large majority of children who are under the current legal age in Quebec.
Thank you very much for your time today, Doctor.
Thank you.
Dr. Laurie Plotnick, full-time pediatric emergency physician and the emergency department trauma medical head at the Montreal Children's Hospital. In a moment, we'll take a look at Mark Carney's environmental track record and speak to an environmental group that says, you know what? Honeymoon's over. We'll talk to them about their new campaign to get the message out, what they feel is an important message for Quebecers. That's coming up after this traffic report brought to you by the
newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.
Debate, interviews, and breaking news. The Elias Macko Show. News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Quite a few texts in on our last topic about e-scooters from people who have had close encounters with them. Scooters don't obey any rules, no stop signs or lights, wrong way, wrong side of the street, up and down sidewalks and road. Very scary. Someone else who was hit by a scooter. I was standing on the sidewalk in front of a playground walking my dog. I was hit straight on by a kid around 10 years old at full speed. He had no control over it. He said he couldn't stop. If he had hit my dog, he would have killed her. Had he hit a child in the playground, he would have seriously injured with them. I was badly bruised, nothing broken. So I think we're going to be hearing more about that as the province considers its options on e-scooters. Right now, on the Elias Macko Show, we are going to talk about an environmental group here in Quebec called Équiterre, which has launched a campaign accusing Mark Carney of environmental backsliding through various policies brought in by his Liberal government. New campaign underway. It's kind of a cool campaign projecting messages up on some prominent buildings and structures here in Montreal. Daniel Rotman is on the line to tell us more. He is the CEO of Équiterre. Daniel, good morning.
Good morning.
Tell us what prompted you to make this move targeting Mark Carney's policies.
Well, it's been a series of events that have led to this. We didn't take this lightly, to call out the Prime Minister and to expose some of the red flags we've seen over the course of the past year since his election. Really, I think it's culminated with this announcement of a pipeline during an extreme heat wave and with forest fires raging. It seems like quite a disconnect from the reality that we're facing here in Canada and around the world, and also from his promises in his pre-electoral campaign.
Specific. So let's talk about pushing ahead with development in a bid to have Canada become a little bit more independent. Obviously, this is in conjunction with the trade war with the U.S. The new policy that allows some projects in a national interest to do an end run around environmental protection. Worst case scenario in your view?
Well, we've seen worst case scenarios. We've seen projects here in Quebec like Northvolt that have caused massive environmental destruction and are costing taxpayers millions of dollars to help clean up and delaying cleanup efforts because of financing. The reality is that there's no evidence that environmental assessment delays projects. There's no evidence that environmental assessment thwarts any kind of sustainable or sound investment or development. These are just sort of industry talking points that are parroted by the Prime Minister. What really hurts these big projects are questions about financing or questions about sound planning. And environmental assessment actually helps make sure that these projects are sound before going forward. So the idea of, bypassing environmental assessment or environmental regulations to expedite these projects doesn't really hold water.
I think you might get an argument on that from the business end, because they very much fear having a project being sent to environmental evaluation, in part because of the cost, and in part because they say the delays are significant when they are trying to act in a nimble way under certain economic conditions.
It's funny, we asked the government, because this is a line we heard from the government, to send us proof or any study or any evidence that this is the case. This is in fact the case, that environmental assessment slows down development. And they were unable to do so. Independent sources have not found that to be the case either. In fact, if you don't undergo a comprehensive environmental assessment and something goes wrong with your project, you risk much greater delays on the other end. So having a good, sound project be developed in conjunction with local communities, with public consultation, because we're talking about massive projects here, with the indigenous population for many of the projects, it's smart to do that ahead of time and actually expedites the project going forward.
Would you also argue that it would make it more likely that you could get financing for your project?
For sure. I mean, obviously, ticking off the box and saying, hey, this project is, it will not, thwart our sustainable development goals here in Canada, is an attractive project, is a green project. I mean, some people like to say, hey, there's the economy and the environment are at odds, which is, first of all, complete, the environment is everything. But it's actually not true. Since the Iran war, electric vehicles make up the largest, the top 10 automobile sales in the United States. The renewable energy projects are the fastest growing energy sector in the world. So I think that, yes, having an attractive, environmentally sound project will be attractive for investors.
Your current campaign highlighting Mark Carney and his Liberal government policies on the environment. It's pretty sharply worded. If I'm loosely translating from the French, Mark Carney manipulated you. That's one message. Mark Carney is not who you think he is. Mark Carney must do better. Tell us the thinking about, first of all, the messages that you've chosen, and also your method of delivering them, which I think is quite interesting.
Yeah, so we wanted to do something that would grab people's attention. Mark Carney has benefited from a honeymoon period where he has, and believe me, I'm quite aware of the difficult context he has inherited with the trade war and the global political situation and the situation in Alberta. And so he has been able to pass certain measures sort of under the radar, and we wanted to shine a spotlight on things that are going forward. So these measures include cutting $5 billion from a $30 billion public transportation fund, from allowing the Minister of Health to reintroduce harmful pesticides into our food systems, There are a number. He's abolished the Consumer Protection Agency of Canada, and many of these measures, because there's so much going on, have been underreported or under-circulated. And so we wanted to grab the general public's attention, but we also have a major problem is that there's an imbalance in power in who gets to speak to the Prime Minister right now. Oil lobbyists have met with Mark Carney's government over 1,300 times, an average of 5 meetings a day, whereas the environmental movement has has had almost 0 meetings directly with the Prime Minister. So we wanted to try to open up a dialogue with the Prime Minister and grab his attention and saying, hey, we are an important stakeholder. And we represent hundreds of thousands of Quebecers. The environment remains a priority for most people in Quebec, and we want you to take notice. And so that's why we did this quite an interesting stunt last night. We projected these messages. We named a few on 6 iconic buildings around Montreal for hopefully all of Quebec to see and hopefully Mark Carney to see as well.
And tell us more about the projection technique you're using on some Montreal buildings and structures.
I thought it was fascinating. We worked with a local collective of projectors called Le Semaphore. And what they did is they sort of brought this massive projector outside in a truck, and they would set it up, and they would project onto these spaces that are not even necessarily flat from far angles. I was talking to some photography students, and they said it was, it's quite impressive the skill they had and the dexterity they had to make these images come into focus. And these are massive, massive scale images. They're on the foot of the Jacques Cartier Bridge. 20 stories up on the Palais de Justice. Really, really massive images to get our message across. You can see them on our Instagram, actually.
What I love about this this technique is, aside from the power that your projector is pulling, you're not graffitiing buildings, you're not painting over billboards, you're not wasting resources or anything like that. You're shining lights on public, I hope they're all like buildings that are not private homes, so you're not disturbing anybody's sleep in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So you've chosen your targets. Well, are you going to be projecting more messages in the coming days?
Not in the coming days. Right now, this is a one-time sort of test trial run to see how it is received, to see if we could get the message across. We will be extending our campaign. There'll be next steps of the campaign, trying to get Mark Carney to the table, trying to get Mark Carney to adopt a position of listening and collaboration. We're pragmatists. We're not trying to say that we're going to be able to change Mark Carney's mind immediately, but we want to be at the table and understand how we can work together to develop the best projects possible.
Daniel Rotman, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Daniel Rotman, CEO of Équiterre. I just love that technique of using projected light to put a message onto a building. It's not shutting down traffic on the Jacques Cartier Bridge for hours on end and making people late for work and missing their medical appointments. It's not polluting. It's not graffiti. It's not damaging in any way. And it's kind of guerrilla. It has a little guerrilla vibe to it, that you're going out under the cover of night and you're projecting these messages. Whew. I kind of like that. All right. After the 11 o'clock news, we will talk about this new arrangement in Dorval, a multimodal transportation hub. It's going to bring in Via Rail and connections to Montreal Transit and on and on. We'll speak to Via Rail about the project coming up.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.
You're listening to the Voice of Montreal.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
An iHeartRadio station.
This newscast is brought to you by Renovco. Renovco does it all, including plumbing. From renovations to plumbing, trust one team. Call Renovco today or visit RenovcoPlumbing.com.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.